greeting cards that had return addresses when she lived in New York. And and supposedly for years, I have to say years, they've been trying to find these people. They haven't found them. They could probably even be deceased by now.
No, no, hang on. I'm confused. When you're saying, are you talking about, Mark, there's a little bit of a audio echo that I'm getting from you guys as well on your end. I don't know if you have a speaker up or something like that. But anyway, folks, or something's not right there. Okay. But anyway, folks, I'm saying asking you, madam, are you saying looking for the people that had her IRAs, like a company that had her investments?
No. These were people that were beneficiary. She had IRAs for them.
Oh, okay. So she opened an IRA in their name?
Correct. Uh-huh.
Or she had an IRA in her name and named them as the beneficiaries if she died. Which is it?
I think it was completely in their name, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know how she would do that, unless it would be a son or daughter. It would make sense to me if they were beneficiaries on an IRA of hers.
Exactly. Maybe that was it.
And they can't find them, you're saying. Are you saying they can't find those people?
Correct. They cannot find those people. And I think we've been up to heaven, down to earth, back and forth to the moon and back, trying to find these people. We cannot find these people. But in the meantime, over these years, I'm getting correspondence from the IRS, other correspondence with privacy issues, and whatever, et cetera, whatever correspondence. I very dutifully sent all that to the attorney that took care of the case. Okay, a bank in our area is holding these IRAs. These IRAs are a bank in our area.
Okay.
At one point, the paralegal from the law office said to me, if I have my executor papers, I could be entitled to that money. Well, this was years ago. Nothing really came from it. I even went to the bank and I talked to the
Well, just pause for a second. When you talk to the attorney in charge of the estate, what are they saying to you? I mean, they're in charge.
They are saying that they have to find these people, period. They have to find the people. They're not going to give up. I mean, this is 20 years.
This has been going on for 20 years?
She died in May of 2006. And the bank in our area still has those IRAs. They are holding them.
Well, wouldn't it seem to you, Mark, that after 20 years, if they can't find these people, that her attorney should be going to the probate court about this?
Well, typically, Ron, IRAs are not a probate asset. If the beneficiaries are properly named, it should never go into probate. Now, if you can't locate a named beneficiary of an IRA account, the IRA funds will typically be treated as an unclaimed asset and held by the IRA custodian. The IRA will then be considered part of the estate if there are no named beneficiaries. If no beneficiaries are found, the IRA funds may be distributed to the state as abandoned property. You know how we get, unclaimed funds, things like that.
Right.
The secret is using all your due diligence. They're going to probably have to list something in the legal news, trying to seek out these beneficiaries. You have to show that you've made a diligent effort to locate these beneficiaries.
But wouldn't you say this, Mark? I mean, based on what she has said, I mean, and you're claiming this is over 20 years, wouldn't you think that her estate attorney and that law firm would say, okay, we've done everything we can do? I mean, shouldn't she expect more from them?
I mean, you can't say that we've done everything we could do. You typically have to file something showing each and every effort you made to locate these individuals. And that means calling utility companies. That means checking voter records. That means, and then if you can't name them, you have to try to serve them through publication, listed in a newspaper. If you've done all that, if you've turned over every rock, then I mean, and I'm not a probate lawyer. I know enough to be dangerous, but I think if you can't locate the IRA beneficiaries, then they could be considered, the funds will be considered part of the deceased estate and go to the other, named beneficiaries, or go along the lines of sanguinity, the bloodlines.
Boy, I do you have an estate attorney on this, ma'am?
Yes.
That's
yes. She's the one that took care of it.
Putting the estate together.
Yes.
And what is your estate attorney telling you?
That they have to, very plain and simple, they have to find these people. There is just no other explanation. And like I said,
well, what if these people are dead? They got to find their descendants then.
Yeah. They,
And you're telling me, just so I understand, you're telling me they've looked for them for 20 years?
Yes, exactly. Because the bank in the area here is still holding.
I understand that. I'm just saying. Okay, so you could be dead and they could still be looking for these people.
Forever, yeah.
And
this is the issue that, just how long can they hold those IRAs? Are they going to hold them forever?
The person is deceased.
Yeah, well, the pivotal words you're using is they say they've looked. You have to back it up with a sworn pleading establishing the steps you've taken to try to locate them. It needs to be filed by the lawyer for the estate. Whoever set this up needs to show the court and display what efforts they made to locate these people.
And then say they've been fruitless, correct? And then go to the probate court.
Well, and then the probate court, and it depends on state law. It differs from state to state. And I couldn't tell you with absolute certainty in Ohio, but it may be, the funds may be part of the estate then and go to other named beneficiaries or bloodlines, or, it could escheat to the state. I mean, the state could claim it as abandoned property.
Yeah. Okay, dear.
So that's a tragic situation. And, there are two different options, but the lawyer that's involved in that case really needs to knuckle up and do everything they can and put it in a pleading to show what steps they've taken just to make sure you don't have some kind of a malpractice claim.
As long as you got a good estate attorney. And if you're not happy with perhaps you get a second opinion from an estate attorney, not a regular attorney.
Right. And you may have to, you may need to petition the court.
What I was going to say. We do have our personal estate attorney that took care of our business, but the one that took care of this other business is just a regular, attorney.
Well, I would suggest you go ask your estate attorney.
Go to an estate attorney. Should I do that then?
Yes. See what they say.
Because you're a little bit on the hook too as the executrix. I mean, you may need to petition the court for permission to distribute the IRA funds to the known beneficiaries, or for a determination that the missing beneficiaries are deceased. And you may have to obtain some indemnity insurance to protect yourself if a missing beneficiary later appears and makes a claim to that money. So it's that scenario is full of landmines. So I would really make sure to get somebody that's an expert in that field to walk me through it.
Appreciate your call. I wish you a lot of luck. Boy, what a mess, Mark.
Boy, what a question to get right out of the gate.
Yeah, but what a mess. I mean, people got to think these things through when they name beneficiaries and make sure that they're accessible, or they don't die before you do.
Not only that,
but usually you got backup beneficiaries too named.
Well, a red flag went up when she said it's been 20 years because I think most of these estates are subject to a defined, term like a 5-year rule for distributions that start when the deceased when they pass. Yes.
Yeah. And it depends, I mean, the judge here in Mahoney County has a pretty good reputation.
He's excellent.
Yeah,
Judge
that's what
Russo's
everyone says.
Excellent.
All right, you're on the air. Hello.
Iris Williams.
There he goes. Number one for the crazy guy.
That's
I mean, you know what I mean? He's got nothing better to do. 330-729-9977. If you've got a legal question, Attorney DeVecchio is here. We take on all comers: child support, divorce, DUI, custody, estates, evictions. You heard the first caller. Whatever legal problem you might have in your life, I have 3 lines open in Youngstown right now at 330-729-9977. 3 lines available, 330-729-9977. If you have a legal question going on in your family that you would like to put forth with Attorney DeVecchio, 330-729-9977 will get you through to us, and I'll hook you up with Attorney DeVecchio, and we'll answer your question tonight. 330-729-9977 for any and all legal questions between now and 6 o'clock, things that are going on in your world and in your life. Whole goal of the program is to answer your question, point you in the right direction, try to get you an answer as to what's going on in your world as far as legally speaking is concerned. So pick up the phone, give us a call, 330-729-9977. It is a reminder from the last call, though, Mark, that, hey, people, they got to think it through. Too many people do not have a will or do not have a trust or don't make plans, and you never know when you're going to die. You got to do this with an estate attorney. So otherwise, it just can be an absolute mess.
I agree. Absolutely.
I mean, you have to state your wishes so that this can be done. If you don't, the people that are left behind are just and you know, another thing I see, Mark, a lot of people stop getting paper statements. Well, if you only get it through your email and you got passwords, many people don't know some of the assets you have because you don't have the paper coming through the mail that they can make the calls. You follow me? You better make a list of things.
Ron, you know I'm old school. I like paper statements.
Yep.
The more things that you have on the World Wide Web, I don't trust it. I worry about it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a case of if you do everything online, you know, and you don't get any paper statements and you pass away, the people don't know your passwords. They can't get into your system to even know that you had life insurance somewhere or you had some type of an IRA somewhere or some type of a benefit somewhere.
It's a nightmare. That's why you should let your executor or a child or somebody know the extent and nature of your estate. You should have an inventory list of things that are of value that are going to become part of your estate, and let people know what accounts you have, what IRAs you have, what your intentions are. Because, Ron, some of those are non-probate assets. You know,
and a
some
lot of
those
times,
accounts,
Mark,
right?
You'll have stuff at work that, you know, the people get better. Unless you ask for it, you might not get it. Maybe you have a insurance policy, a term insurance policy through your employer. Perhaps you have a 401k.
Right.
You know, you have IRAs that people don't know about. You have savings accounts they don't know about.
And that's it. Just having a will is a good start, but it's not a coverall. You need to have somebody with knowledge to know the nature of your estate, the things that they have to address, whether it's the executor you identify, whether it's maybe, I mean, I get worried about telling a beneficiary everything you have because, you know, your beneficiaries really shouldn't have any kind of.
Well, a lot of times if they're your children, there's not necessarily a problem. But I mean, the reality is if you have any bank accounts, you better name a beneficiary. I don't care if it's your checking, savings, whatever it is.
Or put somebody on that account, joint and survivor.
Sure.
That is the best way to avoid these problems. Put somebody on the title of your car. Put somebody with a life estate on your real property. Put somebody on your bank accounts so that when you pass, they would go to somebody that's named on the accounts or named on the other assets.
Like you did, Mark, by naming me. When you get dementia, I'll have to handle your financial affairs.
You're a day late and a dollar short for that, Ron.
I'm already thinking I need to start it sooner than later.
Exactly. Right. You better get to work on that, brother.
It's Attorney DeVecchio. You're on the air.
Yes, I have a question about. I have a little minor dispute with my neighbor. He has a locust tree that was really close to his property line. It's on his property, but he has never taken care of the tree. So what's happening now, and I've asked him numerous times about trimming the part back because he actually has branches growing up over my roof, and it's a locust tree. Those things are real tiny, and the gutters keep getting clogged up. And
but you know what?
I approached
caller
him about it. He said get yourself gutter guards. And I says,
Well,
well, how about you just trim the thing, having it trimmed back? Well, he's refusing to do it. My question is, if I hire somebody to trim the tree just up from my property line, not going on his, would I be in some type of issue? Could he sue me or whatever?
What I would do if I were you is I would send a registered letter and make sure that he gets a copy of it, highlighting what your issue is, highlighting what your concerns are, and then giving him an opportunity to cure. And you could say, listen, if this isn't done in 14 days and you don't clear off these branches from over my roof, then I'm going to take self-help measures and I may pursue you for the cost. I mean, once it invades your property, trespasses upon your property, you have every right to cut those branches down from above your roof. So
now, as my memory serves me right, Mark, tell me, Attorney Beatrice would always say, if it's hanging over your property line, this guy can legally cut it down where the property line is.
Absolutely.
Cut him down. And obviously he would pay for it because he's cutting, hiring a service to cut it down, and he doesn't have anything to worry about. Agreed?
I would concur, but to protect yourself, before you do that, before you engage in self-help, I would put him on notice that if you don't do this in a prescribed time period, I will take action on my own behest, and I will pursue you for any of the costs associated with it. So I would send a registered letter, make sure it gets served on him, saying that I'm having a problem with these branches. They're clogging my gutters. It is now infringing on my property. I'm entitled to
roof.
Yes, I'm entitled to self-help. However, I'm affording you the opportunity to remedy it. If you don't, then we may be in litigation.
All right, but he does have the legal right to cut down anything, from his property line up.
Correct.
There you go. Go get him, Tiger.
In fact, I'm even willing to pick up the tab myself.
Well, there you go. Then go get her done.
Well, good luck.
My point is, so in other words, from what you just told me, there isn't a damn thing. I'll send him the letter. Yeah. There's a damn thing he can do about it.
Right. You could do it.
Right. But send him a letter.
Litigation.
Send him the letter to protect yourself. You have to put him on notice. I would definitely put him on notice just so you're protecting yourself.
But I wouldn't be too worried about it, Mark, in the sense of, Dave has said so many times, if it's hanging on over your property, you can cut it.
Yes, I agree.
I mean,
hey, Ron, we welcome Attorney Frank Cassis has now arrived, better late than never. But at least he's here looking way better than me, who just got pulled out of the workout room, looking terrible. At least Frank is in a suit and tie.
I just got back from court.
Well, there you go. All right. I'm glad you're with us, Frank. You're on the air, caller. Hello.
Bruce Pompian.
All right. You're on the air, caller. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call, guys. A couple questions for you. My wife and I currently moved to our current home, I'll say about 5 to 7 years ago. I keep getting letters in the mail saying that there's property tied to our current house, that people want to buy standing timber. I've had people knock on my door asking if they can hunt this other property. It has nothing to do with my wife and I. I'm thinking the previous owner, who I believed is now passed away, he must have had it somehow tied to our current address. Any suggestions on what I can do?
So it's not your property. It's not your it's an adjacent lot.
We do not own this other property that we keep getting letters for.
All right.
Standing timber.
Stand by, caller. Hang on. We'll come back to you and answer your question right after we do the headlines. This is the Legal Show, brought to you by Beatrice Kopp, News Radio 570 WQAM.
Cardholders can score their iHeartRadio Music Festival tickets right now before anyone else. Tickets are only available while
your comments, Mark, for this guy's dilemma.
What was the question again?
He's getting these mailing
Oh,
for
okay.
timbering.
Yeah, I mean, if he has no right to the property, he has no right to allow access to it. He can't sell the timber because it's unjust enrichment. He's not entitled to sell it. It's not his. He couldn't take any of the proceeds from the sale of that. He couldn't authorize people to hunt on that property because it's not his. So, I mean, what I would do is I would say, listen, the property's not mine. It's enter at your own risk. If he sometimes gives them consent, he could be pulling himself into a problem.
Right. And I don't think there's any way to prevent that either, caller. So you are asking, what can I do for them to stop coming over to my house and asking my wife and I the questions? And there's probably no real good way to do it. I mean, short of you putting a sign in your front yard that says we don't own the adjacent land.
Or put up a no trespass sign or something like that. So just so you're protecting yourself.
And this property in question is not even in the same town I live in. Could I go to a local courthouse and explain it to them, or try to get it off the? I don't know why it's listed underneath my current residence, but it's somehow they're linked.
I would go to the recorder's office.
Right. So if it's listed under your current residence, the remedy potentially would be to go to the recorder and just say, "Hey, can you
pull a legal
update
description?"
This? Right.
Yeah. Have them pull a legal description.
Folks coming to my house asking questions.
But they might have been sending letters to the guy when he lived in this guy's house, right? And
sure.
He just got the address on file.
Sure.
I mean, so. What does it bother you just to ignore him? Because what's the big deal if you just throw him in the trash?
No. I'm just concerned. It's not my name, and like the attorney said, we have no rights for it, and I don't want it. I just want, if this guy had passed away, which I believe he did. I don't know if his family knows that there's this other property in his name, so maybe they could reap the benefits of it. I just
right. Oh,
want them to be able to take advantage.
Yeah, that's excellent. Perhaps do you know where his family happens to be, the guy that passed away?
I do not. Unfortunately, I do not, or I would definitely call them and let them know.
Yeah, because you don't want that property to fall with back taxes and somebody to take it,
Right, and that was my other concerns. It's listed to my address. I didn't want them coming after me saying you haven't paid taxes. Well, it's not my property, but somebody's saying, yeah, but it's listed to this address and you own, this is your address. But yeah, we have no claim to it. So
what a mess. What a mess.
That's an interesting dilemma.
Is it adjacent to? Wait, you said it's not even in where you live?
It's the same township.
No, I live in New Middletown, and I believe this property is somewhere in Poland.
Well, so how close is it to you?
I've never been to this property. I just know that when I get letters, it says, your property in Poland, Ohio, we buy standing timber. Please give us a call. So I've never made a phone call on it. And I did have a couple hunters stop, and they said, they'd like to hunt property, but they always like permission from a homeowner. I'm like, well, I have a pool in my backyard, and I don't even own an acre, so I haven't seen much deer around it. So I didn't realize what they were talking about, but then it dawned on me.
Why don't you call it? Why don't you call a timber company? Obviously, they must have talked to the guy in the past and say, hey, he's deceased. So.
Yeah. Okay. And you said the local recorder as well would be a good place to go. And
yes, get the property address, go to the recorder's office, ask them to pull the deed on the property.
I can't imagine that it's not accurate. I mean, somebody has your address for a reason. Probably like Ron said, maybe the prior homeowner had that property, and then they're just relating it to the address that you live at now.
And did you buy it from the prior homeowner while he was alive?
No, I think this was the original home builder. He built the house I originally live in, and he bought, I believe the family built a lot of houses in New Middletown, even in Poland as well. And I believe he since has passed away. But there's been several people own this home before myself. And I don't know if they were getting letters, but I'm sure I'm getting them now.
Yeah, you should be able to track his relatives down. I would think it wouldn't be too hard.
Very good.
All right, good luck to you.
Very good. I appreciate your time, gentlemen.
A strange problem, huh?
Yeah,
it's a very strange problem.
You know what I mean?
And then who does it come back to, right? I mean, is it the guy who built the house, or is it the owner prior to, or the owner prior to him? Or
well, if the guy's deceased, that's why you go to see whose name is on the title,
exactly,
and find out who's on the title. And then I would reach out. First of all, once you see the name, I would check to see if there's an estate in that guy's name,
sure,
and find out what happened to that property. But I wouldn't permit anyone to do anything with it because I think you're asking for trouble
Oh,
because
yeah.
you don't
I mean, I
have
think
the
answer
authority to
that
do it.
is just as I don't own the property.
Yep.
It's that simple.
I'm out.
I mean, you think the guy might be deceased, Mark. I think the guy could possibly be dead.
He might be on that property somewhere.
little humor there for you. All right, you're on the air with our attorneys tonight.
Hey, Ron, this is the guy from Fort Lauderdale. How you doing?
Good. Go ahead, my friend.
I wanted to ask the attorney, what that woman that called about the IRA,
Yes.
what if the executrix had the beneficiaries' social security numbers? Would she be able to track them down that way?
Yeah. You mean contacting the Social Security Administration with the number to see if there's a corresponding name and address?
Yeah, because I've never had to do that, but I was just curious myself because in Florida we have different laws than Ohio. But
that may be one way, but I don't know that the Social Security number would be included
for a beneficiary
on the IRA. Yeah, I don't think so.
I know my Fort Lauderdale friend, when I always fill out those forms and it never asks for the other person's social security number. Is that common? Or I've never seen that for a beneficiary, but it usually does ask for their name and relationship and potentially address.
Correct.
But don't they usually have a backup beneficiary too on there?
Well, occasionally they do, not always though. I don't know that they always have a backup beneficiary on an IRA or 401k or any kind of an individual retirement.
But they usually do. I mean, if I go to a bank, it always says, who's next in line if that person isn't around.
On a TOD. You mean death, right.
or even on a beneficiary. I put this person down and they say, okay, if DeVecchio's dead, who does it go to next? And I put Frank Cassis. You know what I mean? He's the next person.
I thought it was the other way around.
Well, it could have been the other way around. I'm not exactly sure. All right. Thank you.
Well, Ron, this is the difficulty I face when I get a new client or have an existing client. Each brokerage firm or mutual fund companies have different rules. For example, one mutual fund company may say, okay, 100% of the money has to go to a primary beneficiary, and then 100% has to go to a secondary. Others say, okay, you can have any proportion you want on the primary. You could have 80% go to one primary, 20% go to the other primary. And then some say, like, okay, you can only do 50-50. So, like I said, this is the difficulty I face when I get a new client. So I tell them every few years it's important to update your beneficiaries and keep a record of their phone numbers, emails, where they work, etc. But that attorney is correct. I think it's in all states, if you own property and have not been to the property at any time for 21 years, it is considered abandoned property. Now, same with IRAs in Florida. Now, another thing I was thinking that might help this woman, has she gone on social media, such as Facebook, to try to find this beneficiary?
Well, if you put that out there, you're going to find every kook in the world. I would think. That's me.
Well, you could locate heirs. There's all kind of records to search. There's public record searches that you could download.
There are firms that do that too, Mark.
Absolutely. But I think there was you conflated some issues when you talk about a 21-year look back period. You're talking about adverse possession. That's relative to real property. That's not assets like IRAs. Right. I mean, adverse possession.
Yeah, that's what I said. It was a real property, but is that the same for abandoned investment property?
It's not. I don't know. It's not because part of the claim with adverse possession is it has to be open, continuous, exclusive, adverse, and notorious. Right. You could do that with real property by cutting the grass, by maintaining it, by paying the property tax associated with it. But when you're talking about a retirement asset or a probate asset, it's hard to exert an adverse possession on an asset like that. I don't think you could do it. So,
but I think you brought up a good point. Always make sure you update them as time goes on.
Absolutely.
From year to year, certainly review them. And there should always be a secondary one on there, which is interesting, Fort Lauderdale, because a lot of times if you have two kids, you want to do it 50-50. You know what I mean? If you're leaving it to your children or something, or if you have three you would like to do it a third if they let you do it. But interesting.
Well, another reason the bank's going to keep it run because they don't know if they can't find your beneficiary. They're not going to give it to the executrix or anybody else next in line like a lineal descendant because they don't know. You may despise that person.
Yeah.
You may not ever want them to have that IRA if all the beneficiaries died or can't be found. So that's another reason they're not going to do it. But the last thing I want to say is I always tell a client, tell the beneficiary if they change their address or move to a different state, tell them to tell them that it's very important that they update their info and at least call you so that you know how to get a hold of it.
So you can change it, on the form.
Exactly.
Good points. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. You're on the air with our attorneys tonight, 546. Welcome.
Hello, I've got a tree question for you.
Oh, okay.
A neighbor's tree is hanging over my property, over my driveway to be specific, and at least half of it is hanging over, which suggests to me that the root system is also underneath my driveway. My driveway is buckling and heaving and needs replaced. If I replace my driveway, and in so doing, somehow make the tree less stable, will I be liable if there's some future damage to the tree?
I think you may be. You can't do any. You're entitled to self-help, but you can't do anything to jeopardize the health of the tree. So if engaging in self-help, you do something that kills the tree and it falls and there's damage, you may be liable. You may be. So,
that's a hell of a dilemma, though. He's saying, okay, the tree roots are rooting his driveway. If he puts in a new driveway and they chop the tree roots, so his driveway doesn't buckle.
Once again, I'd say it's all based on disclosures and making sure that you put people on notice.
Yeah.
Because, I would file a lawsuit before I would cut the roots of the tree and cause damage to the tree. I would file something to some kind of a declaratory judgment or something to get the court to acknowledge that, it's causing damage on your property, and to remedy it, it may jeopardize the health of the tree.
Yeah, and you could also bring in a professional to give you an opinion and then put your neighbor on notice as to the opinion that the professional believes that the roots are for whatever reason he would have to say that he believes the roots are underneath your driveway and this portion's hanging over your driveway, which you would be entitled to cut down. But I think what we would call papering the file, meaning get a paper trail so that you have a good record. And if you ever had to go to court or fight this, that you would be able to back it up. But I would most certainly get an opinion from a professional.
I know that I had a similar problem to this guy's. Half of Jimmy Hoffa's body was interfering with my driveway when I was redoing it, Frank, and I didn't know what to do.
Right. Was it knees down or head up? Or what was,
It's probably the cement block around his feet.
Yeah, that's how I could tell. Right. You know what I mean? But I just let it be.
That's actually probably this.
No, I didn't see. I saw nothing, as they say. Go ahead, caller. Did you have a follow-up?
I was just going to say, I was going to get an arborist.
Yeah,
there you go. That's
what
exactly what we're talking about.
And then, perhaps notify the neighbor of the arborist.
Well, most certainly notify the neighbor. Once the arborist, ask the arborist to pen you a report or give you some sort of writing.
Yeah, not perhaps. You definitely
have to. Then you go tell the neighbor, like, hey, this is what's going on, and make sure that you have everything so you can say that, like, I've given it to him, whether you do it certified mail, whether you put it on his door and take a picture of it, just so the courts could know that he was on notice of it.
And I would do it certified mail, or I would knock on his door and make him sign a receipt for the letter.
Right.
I would definitely try. You can never be too careful in these kind of situations when you're looking to avoid litigation.
Right. Because if you have to replace your driveway, which is an expensive endeavor anyways, and it's, there's some theory that you may have killed his tree, I don't know. I don't feel like that would be something that would be your fault. Those roots are encroaching on your property, but just document it.
Well, and you have to give him the opportunity to remedy it. Yes.
Sure. He's got to be able to mitigate.
And if he doesn't, now I think you could go ahead and do what you have to do to protect your driveway.
Yeah, I guess the opportunity to remedy it for them would be to chop the tree down.
Absolutely. That's
Probably.
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Thanks
you
for your opinion.
You want to still remove those roots, though, I would think, even if you chop
Oh
it
yeah,
down.
yeah. Right.
Well, once it's
when
chopped
you take
down,
that,
then
once
you
you take
take
that
the-
driveway out to get the roots out.
Yeah, and then put that down, and man, you'll be good, Mark. You'll be good.
Yes.
You're on the air with our attorneys.
Could I ask my question off the air?
No, you got to ask it on the air. I mean, they can't hear you off the air.
Oh, well, I did that once before. All right, I'll be real quick. I got a traffic ticket in the mail, the old traffic cameras
Yeah.
on Market Street, where apparently there's a school now.
Yeah.
I haven't been downtown for a long time.
I know right
I
where you're
have
at.
every intention of paying the ticket. I just wondered, is there some kind of loophole that I don't know about that I could call them and say, hey,
You're going to pay it or you're not going to pay it?
I'm going to, because
we've talked about
it has
this.
a picture of my vehicle. I'm the only one that drives it.
Do you have a leased car or do you own your car?
That's
Do you
it.
lease it or own it?
Oh, I own it.
Okay.
Well, then, there's nothing. If it's a leased car, when you go to turn in the lease, if you have camera tickets, they're not going to take your car back. You're going to have to
and
pay
they'll
it.
actually make your monthly payment higher. But if you own it, then you may not have to pay that ticket.
Yeah, if you own it and don't pay it, don't worry about it. But you can pay it. You go ahead.
But if you
go
feel
pay
like
it.
it's the
Yeah, listen, I really respect rule followers. If you were speeding and you got a ticket near a school, you
And-
pay it.
and remember, it's a non-moving violation, so there's going to be no points.
There's
on
no
your
points. Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking up some stuff on my phone, and there's no points involved. They claim there had to be an officer there at the time.
No, that's not accurate.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, it was just kind of crazy. I haven't been downtown for years, and I'm coming back, and I don't even remember seeing a sign. I went back after I got the ticket, and I said, "Oh yeah."
Oh no, yeah.
Not
Not
gonna be
only
a
is
sign
there
for
a
the
sign,
camera,
but
there's a
there's
sign for
also
the
a speed
school.
limit.
Yeah,
but there's
right.
also a sign that tells you how fast your car is going.
Right.
I know
Right,
that because I
right,
drive
yeah.
it 5 times a day.
Yeah. No, I saw it when I came back up there.
Where's
And
that?
I
On
can't
Market Street
remember it
going
that day,
downtown?
Yes.
Yep.
Right past where Mooney is.
Yeah, it's by Williamson.
Yeah, right past there is the school's right there.
Yeah, it was down kind of far. Okay, that's what I figured.
All right.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. News Radio 570 WKBN. We got attorney Frank Cassis with us and attorney Mark DeVecchio. They'll be here tonight till 6 o'clock. The Legal Show brought to you by Beatrice Kopp. You got a legal question? Give me a call right now. Got a couple lines open for you. You'll get through and I'll get you on the air and get you some first-class legal advice. 330-729-9977 will get you through to us. 330-729-9977. Once again, 330-729-9977. We'll get you through. You want to talk to our attorneys about anything and everything. The phone number to call, 330-729-9977 for legal questions till 6 o'clock. So you got about another 5 minutes for legal questions, any that you might have going on in your world, your family, that you'd like to bounce off of our attorneys and try to get your question answered tonight on News Radio 570 WKBN. Attorney Mark DeVecchio and attorney Frank Cassis, and you're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes.
I just want to piggyback off of that last guy with the traffic ticket on Market Street.
Yes.
I was literally driving down Market Street today, and the lights are blinking for those camera lights and the speed zone limits for school speed zones. And school is obviously out for summer. So with the lights blinking and the signs blinking and saying school zone, can someone still get a ticket now when school's even out?
Well, it's not necessarily out because all schools offer summer programs, summer school. So if
athletics,
if it's not in session, the school that we're in particular, I don't know if they offer summer programs. I don't think they have athletic teams. But if school's not in session, you may have an argument.
Sure. So a good example is on Market Street by the old Boardman Center. Those lights will flash every day in the summertime when school is out. And if you drive by a policeman going faster than 20 miles per hour, he's not going to pull you over because school's not in session, right? So I don't know if the cameras if the camera tickets give you a ticket for going over the speed limit in the school zone at that time, to me, you would have a very good argument that, hey, this is when I got the ticket. School wasn't in session. To the last caller's point, is there a loophole or a glitch? That's probably it. If, in fact, you can establish that there was no school going on, no one was in the building, there were no children, because that's really the purpose of it.
Yeah, because if schools, you notice school zones, those speed limits are only for prescribed times during school hours, and it will say from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. There'll be some kind of a time limit on when that speed limit is enforced.
Monday through Friday, or
correct?
Yeah.
Right.
And there's been times, and I work downtown. There's been times over the past year when I drive home at night on Wick Avenue up by Ursuline, and it could be 11:30 at night, and sometimes those ones are blinking saying 20 mile an hour.
But there's no cameras there, right? So they're never picking you up. If there was a policeman.
Who knows? I guess there would have to be a manned one at that point, but it's amazing to me that they can't get the blinking light and the blinking sign to sync up with when they should be on and when they shouldn't be off. That's
you would think that they could do that.
You would think that, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
And like I said,
Good point.
Yeah, that is a fair point.
And that's a defense.
Well, and it's the
So I
same
would
thing
use
in the
that defense.
summertime. When the lights are on. In the
However,
summer.
I drove by Ursuline the other day, and it was just as busy as it is during the school year. There's all kind of summer programs. There's athletics. There's summer school.
But there is a real
Depends
argument.
what school.
Yeah, there is a real argument though. It's like, look, the school lights on. There's kids in the building during extracurricular activities. The hours are the hours of school hours.
Right.
So there's an
You got
argument that if you drive by, and even if it's summer school, if school's technically not in session, then you probably do have an argument. But
Thank you for your call,
Yeah,
caller.
right.
You know what I say, Mark? School's out.
For summer. Hey,
You're
he's
on the air.
coming to
Quick-
town, isn't he? Alice Cooper.
I don't know.
I'll
Quick
get his
questions.
tickets.
Hello.
Hello, gentlemen.
Quick.
I have a question about an invention question.
Quickly.
So I have what would be your best advice for someone who has some fantastic ideas that are yet
Retain
to
a
be out on
patent
the
lawyer.
market, but
Retain a patent lawyer immediately. There are patent lawyers that you will talk to you and advise you as to how to protect your idea.
are there any locals? Not saying
Yes.
any names, but are there local? or anything?
Yes, there are local patent lawyers. Absolutely.
so I got a
Okay,
text
thank you
message.
guys. Appreciate you.
Ron,
Yeah.
I got a text message from an anonymous source about
Yes.
a Vindicator article, speed camera shut-off schedule near Youngstown schools. So in May of 2025, the end of May, the Vindicator put out an article that said when all of the speed cameras around the city schools should be shut off. And according to this article, they all should be shut off by now. So except for the potential development on Market Street.
Well, there you have it. Another legal show under our belts with answers and solutions, courtesy of Attorney Frank Cassis. Frank, nice to hear you, as always. And the guy that we love, he's terrific. He's the one and only Attorney Mark DeVecchio.
Ron,
thank both.
come to Simply Slavic tomorrow at the amphitheater. The house band plays 9 to 11. Get your pierogies and your halushki, and we're going to have a good time.
9 to 11 tomorrow. The house band's outstanding. I love the vocalist with the house band.
Well, thank you.
You got it. All right, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ron.
All right. Our attorneys in a legal show brought to you by Beatrice Cop. Back with another hour of open lines after the